today we have a masterclass for the MasterCamp in Human Resource Management, which is co-designed and taught live by experienced HR professionals from KPMG in India. It is a hands-on program that aims to help HR professionals, MBAs, and undergraduate students transition to roles in human resource management. Now, today in our masterclass, we have Archna and Apurva with 20 plus years of experience and a double PG in human resource and human rights laws. Archna has a hands-on experience in establishing and leading HR operations and talent management. She's currently working as a senior associate director at KPMG in India, and of course is one of our masters in the MasterCamp. Along with her, we have Apurva. Apurva is an accomplished professional delivering over 12 years of career success that reflects pioneering experience and success in achieving business growth objectives. His dexterity lies in making measurable impacts on business by pioneering strategic HR programs and by formulating and implementing people-first policies. Thank you so much, Archna and Apurva, for joining in. Also, for everyone, if you have any doubts, you can keep putting them in the chat box during delivering their masterclass, and we can take them over later. Over to you, Archna and Apurva. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pooja. It is indeed a pleasure. I have now been taking masterclass for over 2-3 sessions, and it's always very interesting to see people participating, especially when it is actually a Monday. So I think that makes this day beautiful. Having said that, something which is very interesting about other host that we have today, Apurva, something very interesting about him, and we'll get to explore about him a little more as we progress in the class. He's someone who has actually lived with the fact that he's not from HR. And he's someone who actually ventured into HR and created a niche. He's among one of the youngest senior associate directors that we have in firm. He's actually known for someone who's very strong with people policies. He's someone who has done it all, is leading the practice for last 10 years now. Someone who has risen up the ladder very quickly. Someone who's a fast tracker. And we are so proud to have him today here among us. And delivering this session. So welcome, Apurva. It is surely a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Archna. Thank you, Pooja. Thanks for that note. I mean, it feels good to hear that while I don't see myself as much as that you have explained, but yeah, it definitely feels good when we hear that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I think what is most interesting about this is the fact, we wanted to understand from all of you as to what should be the next class that we should conduct. And when we have put this across here, it is something that the students or people who are going to attend this program have told us that how is it that we can make our career in HR? Why is it so important to be in HR? Why do you think that I am someone not from the HR field? Can I create a niche for myself? And we thought, why can't we just take this topic up and talk about it? And, pick up someone who has done it all. And who better than Apurva there? Also, I think something which is very interesting, and I want to start off with that, is that how I have seen the HR transitioning happening from where we were to where we have come. And if I truly talk about it, basically what we remember is that HR started off as a filing agent, someone who only knew about doing personal work or maintaining files or maintaining attendance, maintaining that who is taking what kind of a leave or doing payroll. That's it. There was never a HR who was actually understanding how the strategy could happen. What should be the people policy? How should we implement them? How is it that, there could be something that can be created which will create value in lives of people, not just our employees, but from the fact the moment an employee or a candidate is attracted in the organization, from there till the very time a candidate decides to leave the organization, or we are providing that kind of a value to them that they want to stay back and make their career in the organization. So saying all that, there is a huge transition that has happened within the HR organization itself. And if you would remember, some of you would have attended, we have also covered this up in demystifying HR roles in the earlier masterclass that we conducted. saying that and not spending much here, I want to ask this question from Apurva. I want to ask him, why transition into human resources? Why? What is your thought? And why? What do you feel should be the thing?
All right. So I think, see, because we are taking it from the point of view of somebody who is probably deciding to come into HR as a career or take it up as a career while not being core as HR either by profession or by education. There are few merits that I see why human resources today is supposed to be seen as a career of choice than as it used to be some time back, that if you want to have a easy life, take HR, which is not anymore now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the riding the entire wave of change as the entire economy is looking at. Being in HR is a place, while there are 6 traits that you put up on the slides, riding that entire change up in the front is what HR do today.
Yep.
Yeah, as in front of that tide, you're facing first as to what is coming, then planning for your organization and for the people of the organization. It requires you to be, absolutely a self-starter, a person with high amount of self-awareness, to be very sure as to what you are taking up is not something that you will be surprised at every moment, because trust me, HR is a career which surprises you at every moment on every day. So
Wow.
I think it is very exciting to take this as a career. Somebody, I think it's not about education or professional background. I feel, Archana, it is more about what sort of excitement do you seek in your life. If you're
Yes.
somebody who wants to look at organization not as a job, but as something that you want to learn, how does an entire organization operates? How does all pieces of the entire engine come together and they operate and bring value to the people, to the stakeholders, to the client, and then create that revenue? HR is the place to be.
Yep.
Whether we are trying to be in that entrepreneurial journey in our long term, I would say again, HR is the best place to be, because that's where you fastest are able to see how does an organization operate. So maybe 15 years down the line, you want to start your own venture, retire early. I think the best place to be is in HR to learn that. So I'm trying to summarize it in a very small, in a nutshell. But I think the answer no more is whether is HR an education that you learn, is HR a profession that you choose because it's a sequential movement. I think it's more about we should turn that question around, Archana, rather than say, are you mature enough to take up HR?
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
if you feel that as a professional, you feel yourself that yes, I'm ready for taking up those challenges, I'm ready for riding in front of the tide, I think choose this career. There's nothing better than this.
Very well said. Very well said that it's not easy if you feel it's all around making rangoli. That's how people used to feel. It is
Yeah.
not just that. Absolutely. Absolutely right. So, that brings me to the next question, which is, how do you actually move from an HR background into the HR space? What are your thoughts around it?
Okay, so I might try and draw some parallels to my education background on that.
Okay.
And yeah, maybe you can open the next slide. That would be helpful for people to relate while I talk. So I come from a non-psychology, non-HR, non-human arts background. I come from a very hardcore science background, not just in schooling, but I also did an honors in physics, which was a very close to my heart subject. Even today, I'm very close to heart. And trust me, even after 12 years of working in HR, I have never felt that it was such an unrelated study I did. I could see it all getting implemented, used in my entire career.
Yep.
So I think, as I said initially, when I started, it's not about how you define HR in 4 walls. If you look at human resources management as your ability to be in a pedestal, as your ability to be having a window in an organization where you are given a preview to everything that is happening, whether it is the CEO of his decision, whether it is the finance CFO decision, whether it is the CTO's decision, or any sort of strategic EVP, value proposition creation for the organization. How is the organization creating revenue? If you are looking HR management as the window to learn all of this, then I don't think at the first step you will find yourself unrelated, no matter whatever education, qualification, or professional background you are coming from.
Yep.
Having said that, now looking at it very pragmatically, people might ask, okay, while you say that it is fine, but when you go to an interview, people look for trade skills, how you should be relating to it. How do you relate your existing trait and skills to the role of HR? I think the answer somewhere lies on the slide. While what we are trying to show here on the slide is that probably that any of the areas that you worked at in the past, you can still turn out to be a good and successful human resource professional. Look at it also a little differently. The skills and competencies that you require in sales and marketing, the skills and which is more about selling, is that needed in HR? Absolutely, yes. Any sort of talent acquisition, whether external selling or internal selling that you need to do with your own people, yes, you need to do that. Finance and accounting, absolutely yes. Unless you understand what are we talking about, how is the firm creating revenue, how are you going to service your internal stakeholders? Legal, oh yes. I mean, this is the biggest area for any human resources professional. You will see people actually, despite having 4 degrees in HR, going to do LLBs and master courses in law, because you, unless you know the law of the land, you can't be a good human resources professional.
I'm one. Actually, after my MBA, I decided to do my human rights law. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying,
Absolutely.
Archana. So, the moment we open our horizon and we try to relate each of these styles that you see on the slide are absolutely relevant to anybody who is supposed to be the best human resources professional in the industry.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
would say, rather than looking at it as different standalone tiles and boxes of curriculum, rather look at the slide as all encompassing competencies that you need to become a good human resources professional. You might have two, you might have three. Obviously, it is not possible to have all together, but that's what a good human resources career will make you, having areas touched upon in all of these areas. I think that's how I would try to summarize that, Archana.
No, very well said. And I'll give you an example of a boss of mine. He was the head of HR in Bank of America when I started my career.
Yeah.
So I, at that time, was very young, probably 23, 24. And I remember that he was a guy who was from hotel management background. So one day we were talking and I asked him, I said, and he was the CHRO of Bank of America. So I said, no degree in HR. And after that, he thought that, he should get into HR with no background. I said, then why did you why did you take up HR as your degree later? He said, because I realized that after spending a lot of time in hospitality, I thought this is the area I really want to work in, people. Because it all boils down to people at the end of the day. That's what it is all about. And, COVID has taught us all this very fact that everything finally boils down to people. And I think what better than be in this area where you can truly bring in that impact.
Yeah, I think if I can add, Archana, to your point, and to what we're discussing on the topic here, human resources profession is something like this. It's like all the knowledge that you have. HR gives you the ability to give words to the knowledge that you have, to define exactly what you know. Unless, yeah, we all know a lot of things. We may be doing a lot of business excellence in our own specific careers. But what HR tells you is that what is it that you're exactly been doing? It helps you articulate your efforts. It helps you articulate your outcomes, and then that gives you better clarity to move forward with better direction in mind and vision in mind.
Correct. And I think, yes, absolutely. So in nutshell, you're trying to say that anyone, be you can be from anywhere and still make a career in HR.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No doubt about it. I mean, you look at army veterans, I mean, forget about this, which still come from corporates. Some of the best, army veterans, or I've seen a lot of one of our KPMG sister concern, our KPMG Global Services HR head was one of the army veteran, and he was such a fantabulous HR head, and the kind of skills that come from that management experience there are also equally transferable to this role.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. Basically, the next slide is very interesting. It talks about how the roles have evolved with time. Apurva, you want to talk about it, whatever, and how do you think the transition would have happened?
Yeah, this one is actually very interesting, Archana. I mean, if you look at it, how in probably in last 2 decades, the entire HR has changed from, some of the words that I can read from the slide, if I may, is, HR assistant, probably human resources officer, HR administrator, which is more about task oriented, action oriented. Okay, you are given 5 things to do in a day, you close those 5 things, look at the files, do some file audit, talk to some people, get some meeting arranged, sit as the mediator between the performance manager and the junior and let them talk, and then you intervene if you feel like. All of this is absolutely talk of the past. And I think how the entire COVID has accelerated, this COVID era that we all have sailed through, fortunately, has transformed this entire aspect into a new era where all of these roles, which were considered to be erstwhile HR, are transferred to the actual people managers of the individuals. They are supposed to be actually looking after their welfare or general engagement and aspect. And what does the human resources professionals today are doing, which is very rightly you have put on the right hand side. They are there on the board. They are there on the table as strategic decision maker, not just of solving the problem at the hand or solving the matters or doing the task for the day or a week. They are seen as visionaries. You are sitting there deciding basis as much of data that you have at hand of all organization in place. You are doing analytics around it. You are compensation specialist. So it has become a very subject matter expert area. What does that mean? That means that people, let's say, who are coming from, I would say, technical background, engineers, or probably people good with mathematics, who are even core maths, they can actually look at HR, human resources, as absolute playground to play with data. Where
Yep.
is more data available than there in an HR department today in any organization?
Correct.
The kind of insights or the kind of predictive data analytics that you can do with HR, and this is just one example I am taking. Where is else that you can do that? Secondly, if you are good with people dynamics, group dynamics, you understand human psychology pretty well, and you can not just be a typical HR officer, you can be an organization, an OD professional, which is helping organizations to define themselves as the newer future prospects. And same is very different areas, even for legal matters. There is a lot of aspects which today talked about is DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's come up as in itself a new role. People
Yep.
coming from CSR backgrounds, people who've been on the ground, understand the reality of people on the ground, are absolutely apt to fit in these roles, and they are all very much part of human resource management. So I think there has been a huge shift from, as we said initially, we are going back to that topic. I think it's about looking at it differently. Maybe we should change the name of human resources management to something else for people to easily relate to the new definition of HR.
Correct.
I'm just saying that.
And
So
you're right, because I think HR is one area. I was, while I was talking to someone very senior in the SHRM conference that we attended, we were talking and he was saying that if you actually look at it, HR is the only area which has seen that name nomenclature transition also. Marketing or sales would have remained that. Finance also more so has remained that. HR from from personal department
personal
to
development.
administration
Yeah.
to human resource management
Yeah.
to people and culture as we call it today, right? A lot of transition has happened, and you need to have skills to be evolved, to be an evolved HR person. If you don't have the stakeholder management skill, or you rightly pointed out, that data analytics, you can never shy away from saying that I'm in HR, so I don't understand numbers. Absolutely.
Gone are the days.
Yeah.
People who don't want to deal with numbers anymore, let's go in HR. I'm sorry, that's the bad news. Gone are the days. You can't
Yes.
do with numbers still in HR anymore. So, I mean, you rightly said, and the name change is one of the aspect as we talk about being in HR. You're riding right in front of the tide of the change. You have to face it first, and the organization will face it later. So that's why we have seen so many transitions in HR. That's why it is exciting, I would say. I mean, at least that's what have excited me all these years.
So I have a friend of mine who actually shifted from a technology organization as the engineer, and then he became the HRBP with one of the artificial intelligence startup. So I asked him, I said, how come you changed your field, and how come from an engineering background you did your MBA and moved into HR or a course in HR? He said very simply, he said that, I understood that I can actually see things and feel them. Like you rightly pointed out earlier, that when you truly want to feel something, you should be in HR. He said, earlier it was all virtual. I was, writing codes, but I didn't know where they were going or what impact were happening. But here, here I can see the real impact happen. It's a domino. I click one thing and everything goes in for a toss.
Absolutely.
That's how it is.
Completely agree, Archana. That's exactly, I mean, how better it can be put.
Yeah. Okay, so this is another slide you wanted us to put forward. So and kind of talk about it. Yeah,
I think some bit of it we did speak while we were talking in the last 5 minutes, but I think how does it exactly show is probably, there are two ways to look at it. One is the maturity of the roles as it is, as we were talking about over the period. But other than that, how does an HR career path in an organization looks like, and how does the maturity of the role comes in as you move forward in a career in HR also has play to take in, because obviously in an organization, while you're growing, your responsibilities, whether they are people related or tied up to the organization's outcomes, incrementally increases as you go up the ladder. And where else it is seen more as much as it is in HR, because for example, let's say you could be a tax expert right from the start of your career. You will start training people later. You will probably manage team of tax experts, but you will still be ended up, you will be doing that same expertise during the area of your career. However, in HR, when you start, you probably be looking at areas of supporting businesses and ensuring that they have right amount of infrastructure support. They have right, and by infrastructure, I don't mean office space. By infrastructure, I mean capabilities that you need to deliver something. For example, if you have a huge team of 100 people, you need to train them to ensure that some of them are ready to take interviews to identify more people. That's where you start from junior to mid-level career. And then as you grow up as a human resources professional, you start to become more of strategic decision makers, sitting with the business to help them identify as to what is it that they can do better to manage their people better, get best out of them, ensure that there is the right amount of outcome and value created by the team or the firm at large. So value creation is I think the key across as we go up in the ladder from senior manager to HR director to vice president and CHRO, and levels at like vice president and CHRO. Archana, you and I both know that it's hardly just about managing your own space. It's then about bringing revenues to the firm. How do you ensure there is sufficient flow of bottom line managed, and you are bringing again adding value to your existing or adding new clients. So I think you can look at this career path as I initially said, not just as a maturity of HR as in a career, but how do you plan yourself to be in future to be at a CXO level, probably if you wish to. And I know a lot of CHROs, and trust me, CHROs have this business line is such that eventually once you start learning business, you have an 360-degree view to the entire organization, provided you have taken interest to it in your entire career. And nobody stops you from becoming even a CEO. So an HR professional can definitely, and are a lot of them that I know are CEOs and managing large organizations. So the way I put it is that it is not again about defining it quote unquote as an human resources professional. It is about learning of how an organization operate. The best way to start learning, and even if you look at it, we have heard about a lot of tycoon family-owned business owners, and when they put their children to the floor and to learn and train them on succession planning, the first thing that they tell them to do is go and sit with the people who deliver for me, and then you will understand how to become a CEO or an MD of an organization. I would say this is an accelerator. HR is an accelerator program for people who are all not in family-owned businesses like me, but still have a have a plan to be somewhere sometime a CEO of an organization. This is the place to be in. I mean, that's how I would summarize it, Archana.
No, I think thank you. And with your skills, I'm sure you will and hire us too once you're there. So I think very lightly put, and I'll give you one example which you said also. There was a study which was done, and they realized that the maximum skills CHRO matches the CEO.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. Like you rightly said, if you have to understand the of an organization, go sit with people who manage people. Absolutely correct. I think very well put. Which brings us to the next question, Apurva, which is how can you transition in HR and acquire the important skills to be successful? Just not talking about transition, but we are also talking about the fact that we need to be successful. Once we have taken this, how can we be successful here?
Yeah. I think this one, the word that comes to my mind when I think of this question, Archana, is planning. I think you can't be, and I know people sadly who think that they can be in successful HR one day if they think about moving into it, kuch to kar lenge, nikal jayenge types. But I'm sorry, that's not how it could be. You really need to have a plan in mind, a plan to actually one, as I first said, have an absolute self-awareness of what is it that you want to do. And self-awareness doesn't come by just thinking about yourself. It comes by actually coming on the ground, practicing certain skill sets, learning about certain areas of management related curriculums, or even for that matter, upskilling yourself from certain competencies perspective to ensure that you are able to, as I said, not just think about it, you're also able to articulate what you're thinking about. Because unless you're able to translate that into a transferable language, you can be as good as a doer, but you can't be a good transformer or a professor for that matter for yourself or for the organization. So I think maybe you can come there, Archana, given your large experience in this area. But I think planning for both of what is it that you see is as long term for yourself, and secondly, how are you planning to upskill yourself, both in terms of competencies and the different roles that you are ready to take. The varied roles that you are ready to take on the job is something that I feel is the way to define a successful career. And obviously, there are other areas, be among people, talk to a lot of coaches, talk to people in industry who are in HR, try and see how they have progressed in their path. But yeah, I think you would be a good person to talk about on this topic instead of just me going on.
No, that's thank you for that. I think that was very important what you said, as to have the clarity as to you want to be. And I just want to bring in an element here where I understood at one point in time in my life that to be at a certain level within HR, like you also said, you need to have done it all. You can't be just a talent acquisition specialist and rise up the ladder there, but you should also be a HR business partner and understand how the business works. What are the essence? What is it that you need to truly manage your stake? How important it is to build up relationship? How important it is to understand the P&L of the organization and understand how the manpower budget would actually impact. And I say that with a lot of experience while I was in my earlier career and handling people in aviation industry, within aviation, when the entire organization was suffering from COVID. Despite of whatever, I think the beauty about the organization was the CHRO or the HR people who were working on ground to ensure that we bring in to people. Value in every sense, value in terms of how are we taking our employees and also ensuring that, they at the end of the day, they are not hassled about anything, be it at office, be it at home. So I think there is a larger impact that you can create, and you can only rise up the ladder, like you beautifully said, by understanding HR a little more. You can't be in silos and work in HR. go to people and understand, beat any line, beat any field, and more so if you're not from HR, because this is strange, but I feel I have a very different perspective around HR. HR is a very legacy-driven setup. The problem is for people to accept that there could be someone from a very different mindset and abilities who can come in, and that used to be the case. Not any longer. Why? Because there had been many such courses available, and we are talking about one of the programs in MasterCamp and Human Resource Management, which is to be which we are launch, and this is a very interesting program. Reason being, this is a program which is comprehensive, which is not just to make you an expert only in talent acquisition, but will also give you skills how to manage stakeholders, how to become a true HR business partner, how to ensure that you understand what is learning and development, how to create learning programs, how to ensure that you understand what is tech, how to ensure that while you're resolving any tech issue, what is it that you need to do with that data which is coming to you? All that will be covered in this program. And it is a program, rather than, if you don't have access to seniors who are working in HR, this is a program which is going to give you access to a lot of industry experts from KPMG who have very strong experiences, created the niche already in this line, and coming from varied experience and graduations, experience earlier and then transitioning into HR. So I think there is a lot that they can learn in this program from people who have already created a kind of niche in this line. So, it's like a quick thing, not like ours, our times when I like 20 years to be where I am today. But yeah, so this could be a quick fix for people who wants to, looking at making their career within HR.
No, absolutely. And I may just add to all that you said very aptly, Archna. If we get an pedestal, which is something coming directly from the industry experts' mouth, something that a pedestal that gives us a early window to how is HR being executed on the ground in organizations today. It is going to be a huge positive and advantage to not just even for people who have done their post graduations in other areas, but I would say even for people who have done their post graduations in HR, and they have understood it from HR as a concept which is through book. But if there is any course which talks about an absolute industry expertise and industry use cases about it, what is better than starting there and learning from the industry experts and practitioners? So I think I would rather say that such courses are add much more value than any other generic education, which is graduation or post graduations, that anyways are important, no doubt about it, but such industry expertise coming on is very important.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Apurva. I must say that was extremely insightful. Thank you so much for bringing in that perspective. And as you said, it is not just for people with different, other than HR backgrounds, also for people who are having no background in HR, and they can still create a niche here by learning from people who are doing it every day, 24/7, learning from them and that they become experts quickly within 6 months, like the program says. So thanks so much for that. And what I'll do now, I'll open up the chat window. There will be some questions which we would like to answer.
If you guys are referring to Amrita's question, I think, Amrita, what you can consider is moving into an L&D department or a role within L&D, because with 8-9 years of experience in education and training, right, I think that is where you would fit into HR. Archna, any thing you can add here?
Can you repeat the question?
Amrita says, I have been working from past 8 to 9 years into education training companies. Will it be fine for me to change the career at this stage? I have worked on a lot of diversified profiles, but will it be fine for me to get into core HR now? So she has 8 years of experience in education and training.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said some things around it. You would like to take that up and perhaps, if...
Yeah, sure. Let me take an attempt. I think, see, look at it. If you are into if you have been an educator and you have been into curriculum creating careers or experiences in the past. Content creation is one big area for any HR professional. And I'm not
Absolutely.
saying that only from an L&D point of view. I'm saying that also from an OD point of view. I'm saying that also from a talent acquisition EV creation point of view. I'm saying that from an HR business partner engagement model creation point of view. So it's not about what have you been creating. It's about having to be able to use that skill to create. When you have learned to create, what you create and how do you gain that expertise is to probably, if you go through this curriculum, you will be able to articulate and understand the actual nuances of HR, and then you can use that or already trained, your muscle power of how to create to actually start creating for HR. So I think there is direct linkage as in learning and development team and otherwise, but in larger HR team also there is a huge scope for somebody who has experience in as an educator or a content creator.
Absolutely. And just to add to what Apurva's saying, someone who understands content and how to create it, because I think what is important for a content creator is someone who understands the also do the research. What is prevalent in the market, best practices, what's happening, what is suited for the organization. There might be something happening that relevant for your organization. So if you are into a field which is all around creation, all around understanding and reading those profiles, it will be very easy for you to even get into something like policy making, even get into something around documentation,
Very
which
apt.
is very, very important for HR.
Yeah, it's a very apt, and in fact that you called out very bang on. I think policy creation and policy management is in itself a role today in HR. So
Yep.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I hope we were able to answer Amrita's question.
Okay, Amrita, I hope that helped. So there's one interesting question from Ria who's saying that is there any remote working opportunities available in HR? I think this is specific to KPMG India. So I think Ria, I think it would depend on the company whether they're offering hybrid work models
culture or not. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, HR, I remember being part of IBM at one point in time where I worked completely from home. And that was an opportunity that the organization provided. They had a setup where I was working for complete so many years. I worked from home because I had 2 babies and I had to manage them. And I was in HR at that time. And in fact, I was managing talent acquisition, imagine. So, it is something which you can truly do. No worries around that. You can deliver till the time you have outcome delivered. You can anywhere, provided your organization has a setup like that.
Absolutely.
So there was one question which Stuti has already answered, but the question was that the person was a civil engineer, and then he did an MBA as well and was working as a project manager. So can he consider transitioning into HR now? I believe that was the question.
Can I take that, Archna?
Yeah, please.
Yes,
That was interesting for you too.
Yeah.
He's the project management expert. You have asked the right question.
yeah, that's what I was thinking, that how did we miss not touch that topic?
Yeah, he's the process guy.
I think there is a dimension to HR which has which has emerged in the last 5 years, guys, and that is related to absolute project management, as project management office for HR team. Let me tell you about how my last few years, probably half of my career has been after doing certain traditional roles, looking through the standard talent acquisition team, business partnering, managing shared services initially as well. The first thing that I look into, because I'm more of person who kind of try to take things till closure and then start and take up again, project management was just a natural flow that I took into and kind of started looking at things from the possibilities in HR to be seen as projects. Eventually that role in itself and industry fortunately also moved along, and then we have a huge need of people who have those project management skills, ability to show those Six Sigma sort of capabilities, those continuous excellence capabilities. Now it doesn't matter whether that you have done that or learned that as part of civil engineering, or you have learned that as part of your business excellence core. The skills remain transferable. So I think if you focus on the skills that you have captured, no matter where were you using them earlier, are absolutely transferable into a human resource professional. And trust me, the number of needs or jobs that you will search for and find in for project management offices in HR today, there has never been such a high number out there in the market, because everything needs to be time bound. HR has moved that way. Gone are the times where you can, give something to HR and you don't know when it is going to come back. All of experts in HR professionals, or absolute professionals, work with an absolute project management mindset on everything in HR, big or small. So I think there's no better place than to be if you have all of those skills.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that was a very good question.
Yeah.
Okay, Apurva. And then there's also a similar question. Akanksha has 4 years of experience in sales in the banking sector. So can she consider a role in HR later on? And if so, what role would be suitable?
I think,
There was this, yeah.
Archna, please go ahead. I would like
No. I think there was this very interesting slide that Apurva also shared. Let me put that up and Apurva can then talk through it.
So I think, particularly answering to the question, you're saying you're part of the banking sales executive team, or the larger sales team, either at a corporate level or at a product level. Trust me, the amount of sales skills that you would have picked up as part of the banking with the most competitive industry today, you will be, sought after in any HR team. And I'm not saying that only from a talent acquisition perspective. I'm also saying that also from a convincing abilities perspective. I'm saying that from the capability of doing negotiations. I'm saying that from the capabilities of doing difficult conversations. And all of these skill sets that I'm talking about are sought after in a very good human resource professional, which people gain after doing a lot of hard work, which I'm sure you would have got hands-on experience to, as part of your sales team. So equally very easily transferable. And the first style talks about it all, which is sales and marketing.
And I think to what Apurva is saying, it is a very competitive banking is one sector which is going through transition almost every year. So every year I have known people starting my career in Bank of America. I've known people where it goes through the complete restructuring of the organization. And when we talk about restructuring, that would essentially mean you're looking at workforce management from the time and the level they are hired at to the session planning or the next move they should be taking. So it is a long process. The entire banking sector goes through almost one year plus every year. And it so happens that every time when you're going through, you tend to learn a lot, like Apurva said, than any other professional, because you pick up those skills automatically, whether you realize it or not. You are one person who truly can make a career here in this line.
Yeah. I think one mantra that I would like to leave this group with, our audience is, whenever you are trying to look at yourself or trying to, envision yourself as into the role of an HR, or you're trying to sell yourself into the role of an HR, don't look at as what you have been doing and explaining that. Look at the skills that you have gathered while you were doing what you were doing. For example, in this example, you were saying, you have captured negotiation skills, you have captured convincing abilities, you have captured ability to do difficult conversations, selling. Just talk about these skills and then see, okay, does this match to being a good HR professional? The answer to it automatically will give you the confidence that, can I see myself as an HR professional? And when you talk about it while you are in an interview, or then later, after you have done this course, you're trying to sell yourself, this is what will become an absolute key, and it will quickly hit it with the other person that, okay, yes, these are the skills that I'm looking for. Then it doesn't matter what job you have done. I mean, that's just the role that you were holding. Skills are transferable. Believe that always.
Perfect. And I think a very nice way of looking at it, because you need to be reflective. You said in the very beginning, do you know yourself enough?
Yeah.
To be in HR. Absolutely. Well put.
There's one question from Lakshmi which is related to placement. So I think I'll explain that later on. Okay. But in the meanwhile, there's one question from Pooja, who's saying that she wants to grow in a career in HR business partnering. So what are the kind of learnings, she would require, or what kind of projects would she, have to work on to eventually make it to that role?
So first of all, so she has to take this course, because this is which has a big element of HR business partnering. And we are actually actively teaching business partnering, in which whatever Apur said, like difficult conversation, stakeholder management, understanding how to look at any business and creating a niche for yourself, all that will be covered. So moment you grasp these skills and understand these skills, which we will be teaching, you can be a wonderful HR business partner. Apurva, you want to add something there?
No, absolutely. You said it all right. And maybe, for some who have joined late, who couldn't hear it in the front, there are certain skills that I might want to call out here again to be reflective, because what is important is whether you're able to reflect and connect to. Some of them might be repetitive, but are very important, like problem solving, self-awareness, negotiation skill, ability to manage pressure, analytics for decision making, curiosity to understand people motivators, be a conduit between organization and people, self-motivated, self-starter by that way, project management ability, management view early in your career if you are looking at that. And having said it all, as I said it earlier, riding right in front of the tide, if you have that courage, and if you want to really gain accelerated knowledge of any organization's ability to create value, this is the place to be. And I think that is what we all talked about, Archna and me together. So that's all would be from me, Archna. Thank you.
Perfect. Perfect. Amiran Sheikh also has a very nice question. He's saying, I've done MBA in English and I have 3 years of experience in IT recruitment. Will I be able to land a job in core HR with reputed organization with this course? Absolutely. That's my answer to you. Not only the course, it is also not a course which is immersive, and it teaches you all aspects of HR within 6 months, which is very quick, and give you a real-time experience and examples. Why? Because like Apur said, you will be taught by practitioners who are actually doing HR day in, day out. Besides that, Master Union has a very strong placement setup and cell. I think you can talk about it, Rosa, a little.
Yes. So, all right, guys. So placements, I think, see, with this course also, I mean, all the master camps that Masters Union is currently offering, they are actually placement-led certifications, right? So all of the students participating or who, enroll in the program, they will be getting placement support for additional 6 months after completion of the program, right? So it's a 6-month course, and then you get placement support for the next 6 months. And here is where I think it starts right from the mentorship, where you guys will get access to have your own mentor from KPMG, and they'll be sort of guiding you towards what role is more suitable, helping you select the right kind of projects. And then also the team at Masters Union who will be helping you with your resume building, your LinkedIn profiling and all that, right? Eventually, you will also have access to the placement drives that we held. So overall, I think you would get about 30 to 40 different interview opportunities from which you'd have to sort of crack your roles. So yeah, I mean, placement support is there. And also to announce, we just, Masters Union also announced its latest placements for the PGP cohort of 2022, right? So I'm just going to share the link for that as well. And in case you guys would like to know, what all companies recruit from us, or, what are the kind of profiles that they're hiring for, this will give you a better idea of it. So it was announced today. I mean, it's quite big. It's the highest again, so.
Wow. Congratulations for that.
Yes, thank you. I mean, we have to give it to the masters as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I've attached the link there, guys. But overall, I would say everything is mentioned on the website also. So if you guys do visit, do read through, scroll down, at the bottom, you'll get to know as well, about this particular program. So I'm sharing the program page as well, since we're almost coming towards the end of the session. Okay, and if any of you have any specific questions also, you can always drop us an email. I mean, that always helps. We directly route it to the admissions team, and the counselors can sort of get in touch and help you take through the course details, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's about it in terms of the technical questions. Now, there was one question about the program being hybrid, right? It's whether it's online or whether it's offline. Now, all the courses under MasterCamps, they're hybrid courses. So when we say hybrid, it means that since the course is designed for working professionals or even students in many cases, right? All the lectures can be attended live on Zoom, which happens on the weekends, that is on Saturdays and Sundays. Apart from this, there are a few projects or assignments that you may have to work in groups or with peers. And for this, you can always visit our campus, which is located in DLF Cyber Park, right? So anybody who's working in Gurgaon, I think for you, you can easily consider that. Otherwise, in cities like Mumbai or Pune or let's say Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Chennai, we do have satellite classrooms, or these are basically co-working spaces that Masters Union has partnered with. And all students from that particular region can go and, sort of attend and work on these projects together. But it's a hybrid course. Nothing offline is mandatory. Everything can be done online as well. And of course, all of you will have access to all the different kind of events that the community does right here. So whether it's the startup weekend or any other events that we do, you guys can always participate in that as well. So I hope that answers your question.
But I think very interesting. And the best part about this session was that it came from someone who's actually practicing HR, someone who's not from HR and then create within HR. And I must say one of the fast track in the firm itself. So I think that talks a lot about the authenticity of this program, that, we have really brought in people who have done it all and really doing it day in and day out.
I mean, I think just attending this session itself, has given me also a lot of insights about how HR has really transitioned over the years. So I think everyone else also who've asked questions or who've attended it would agree to that. Yeah, Anshu is also giving us a thumbs up. Ria's asking, will we get any certificate regarding the session? No, Ria, this is only a MasterClass. So we do not give out certifications for the same, since there are no evaluations involved, right? But if in case you're asking about the course, so you will be getting a certificate that is co-signed by Masters Union as well as KPMG India team. So that is what you'll be getting over this for all the different kind of projects that you work in the course, right? Whether it's the capstone project. So we will be getting the proof of work for that, and that can really help add a lot of value to your CV, and also if you're looking for a transition into a specific role, then you can work on projects in that area. So it also reflects that you have sort of worked around that area and have experience within it. Okay, great. So Amrita, I hope you enjoyed the challenge is what you're referring to. I think the results will be out tomorrow as well. So those of you who have completed stage 1 and 2, you can, wait for the results.
Sri Chandan has asked this question, organization development in different niches, that is part of HR. And we'll cover that. That's one of the modules within the curriculum. Thank you, Ria. Thank you, Ria. That a lot of thanks coming in for you, Apur, for all the questions that you answered.
Happy to be able to help and clarify the doubts. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Archna, and thank you, Apurva. I think I should say thank you to you guys a lot as well. It really opened my eyes also about HR, right?
Thank you, Archna.
Thank you so much, Apur. Thank you so much, Sumedha, Stuti.